Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Captain Murzban Morris, and I'm currently serving on the United States Joint Chiefs of Staff in the Strategy and Policy Directorate. I'm here today to discuss the U.S. perspective on several military efforts designed to counter the growing threat presented by North Korea. U.S. military activities on the Korean Peninsula are generally twofold in design. First, as a standing posture to ensure the defense of and solidarity with our treaty allies. And second, as a commensurate response to the provocative acts of North Korea. In either vein, the nature of the actions, activities, or exercises are defensive and not designed to be provocative or escalatory. Additionally, they are not unilateral in nature. Bilateral, trilateral, and multilateral efforts, activities, and exercises demonstrate the international concern with the threat from North Korea. And this threat is growing and intensifying in nature. Not responding to North Korea's provocative actions implies that we have accepted and are resigned to a nuclear and ballistic missile program that threatens peace and security worldwide. U.S. policy is clear. The U.S. has no interest in regime change or accelerated reunification of Korea. We do not seek an excuse to garrison U.S. troops north of the demilitarized zone. We have no desire to inflict harm on the long-suffering North Korean people, who are distinct from the hostile regime in Pyongyang. Our long-standing series of exercises, as well as responsive actions to North Korean provocations, are in line with this mindset. Likewise, the intensification of North Korean nuclear and missile tests, including recent ICBM launches, demonstrates the need for us to continue defensive military activities in the region. Our posture and activities in the region and worldwide is guided by our national security strategies and directives, of which the third offset strategy is a part. An offset strategy is part of a long-term competitive strategy, a peacetime competition between rival defense establishments that aims to generate and sustain strategic advantage. The third offset aims to develop technologies that can address multiple threats in order to preserve peace and security around the globe. It includes operational and organizational efforts based on policy, training, and exercises that allow U.S. and allied forces to achieve an advantage and thus bolster conventional deterrence. Our efforts in response to the growing North Korean threat are associated with this strategy. Military exercises with our allies and partners play an essential part in our efforts to display a defensive capability ready to respond to North Korean aggression. These exercises are transparent and fundamentally defensive in nature. The primary aims of these exercises are at maintaining operational readiness, defending our allies, enhancing deterrence, strengthening our regional security cooperation, and maintaining peace and stability in Northeast Asia. For over 4 decades, we have conducted bilateral military defense exercises with the Republic of Korea under this mindset. North Korea's introduction of nuclear weapons to the peninsula as a tool of coercion or for use in the event of a conflict has raised the possibility of rapid escalation and made the need to conduct and enhance these long-standing exercises that much more urgent. Exercise efforts expand beyond the U.S. ROC alliance and are multinational in nature. A strong defense relationship amongst the United States and the Republic of Korea, the United Nations Command, Combined Forces Command, and other regional security cooperation efforts, such as our trilateral defense initiatives with Japan, serve as the anchor of stability in the region. In accordance with long-standing procedures and practice, the United Nations Command regularly informs the Korean People's Army in North Korea through their Panmunjom mission of the occurrence, purpose, and focus of major exercises. North Korea, however, rejects the practice of notification, to include notifying the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission. Such rejection prevents the capability to provide transparency and predictability, in turn aiding in the management of crises that arise from miscalculation or miscommunication on the peninsula. A prime example of how exercises are approached by the United Nations Command can be seen in the recent Key Resolve, Full Eagle 2017 exercises and the ongoing Ulki Freedom Guardian exercise. Key Resolve and Full Eagle are two examples of long-standing military exercises in the region that have been and continue to be overseen by the Neutral Nations Supervisory Commission. This commission has been overseeing exercises since the 1953 Armistice Agreement. These exercises are based on realistic scenarios with distinctions between each scenario that assume various threats. These exercises occur annually, and each is the culmination of many months of planning. While not directly connected, Combined Forces Command executes them at the same time each year for various reasons. Exercises such as these are aligned with U.S. policy and not designed to be a precursor to offensive action. They are defensive in nature and part of the overall strategy to present an internationally unified capability to respond to North Korean aggression. In addition to exercising and developing multilateral capabilities, it is imperative to maintain an effective defensive posture that is ready to respond against threats in the region. The recent deployment of the THAAD, or Terminal High Altitude Area Defense System, to South Korea is an example of that enhancement to the capability to defend against North Korean aggression. Purely defensive in nature, THAAD provides the U.S. ROC alliance a layer of upper-tier missile defense capabilities to address the threat from North Korea's extended-range Scuds and Nodong medium-range ballistic missiles. Given the growing threat from North Korea, THAAD is an essential piece to the defense of the Republic of Korea. The THAAD system is designed to be globally transportable and provides a capability to intercept ballistic missiles during their final or terminal phase of flight. The system utilizes hit-to-kill technology, where kinetic energy destroys the incoming target. The video here demonstrates the THAAD system in operation during a recent test. Released by the U.S. Missile Defense Agency, this video demonstrates how a drone target simulated a medium-range ballistic missile that was on a trajectory to threaten a pre-designated area the THAAD system was defending. As the test drone is deployed and begins to descend towards the defended area, the THAAD radar system detects the target and computes an impact point based on that trajectory. Following a series of protocols, the system determines the target to be a threat, and with appropriate authorization, the necessary number of interceptors are launched. The number of interceptors will depend on several factors, including the type of threat, expansive defended area, and firing protocols. In this particular test, one interceptor was launched. After launch, the interceptor is guided to impact and neutralize the target. Based on system capabilities and the extent of coverage, neither the THAAD interceptor nor the associated radar has the capability to negate the strategic nuclear forces of other nations. The systems are purposely focused on regional defense against high-altitude threats. Likewise, missile defense does not lower the nuclear threshold, as it is a purely defensive capability that raises the bar required for political will to launch a salvo of missiles. That is designed and aimed at defending against the real threat to the Republic of Korea, the North's WMD programs and means of delivery. The threatening nature of North Korea's nuclear and missile program is not limited to the Korean Peninsula. Tokyo, Sydney, Moscow, Addis Ababa, Shanghai, San Francisco, Paris, even here in Geneva, we're all in range. North Korea's new intercontinental ballistic missiles might reach them all. The North's missiles can point in any direction. The most recent launches from this week highlight the extent of the threat. The international community has come together to condemn and pressure North Korea to abandon its unlawful weapons programs. We stand together with regional and international organizations, allies, and like-minded partners to include the European Union, NATO, ASEAN, and the United Nations. Numerous United Nations Security Council resolutions, including the most recently passed UNSCR 2371, demonstrate the overwhelming international stance toward North Korea's continued provocative nature. North Korea's refusal to abide by its international obligations and its own commitments demonstrate the necessity of coordinated regional and international diplomatic, economic, and defensive military responses. An integral aspect of the international response is the trilateral efforts between the U.S., ROC, Japan to be able to respond to North Korean aggression. Cooperation among our three nations on the nuclear and missile threats posed by North Korea is crucial to deterring North Korea and to maintaining peace and stability in Northeast Asia. Examples of our trilateral efforts include sequenced U.S. bomber flights, trilateral missile defense informational link exercises, or LINK-Xs, anti-submarine warfare tracking exercises, observations of major bilateral exercises, and policy discussions to address the North Korean threat. These efforts are designed to demonstrate the solidarity and resolve we share with our allies to preserve peace and security in the Asia-Pacific region. But the effort cannot stop at the regional level. The international threat calls for a multinational response. A key part of that international response is the continuation of discussions such as these to address concerns associated with efforts designed to defend against and, if necessary, respond to the growing threat from North Korea. It is that threat, the nuclear and missile programs that North Korea continues to enhance regardless of international efforts to the counter, that serves as the primary driver for military activities on the Korean Peninsula. But as previously noted, the threat is not limited to the peninsula or even to the region. It is a worldwide threat and requires an appropriate stance from all. Thank you for your time and opportunity to speak today.